Good morning, folks. How are you doing? Today is June the 2nd, 2024. It's bright and early on a Sunday down here. It's about 8:25 in the morning. Hi, how are you? I know I don't look so hot. I didn't really get dressed up or anything, but I had to put this out there. I was going to do a video yesterday evening about this new peace deal, this treaty, this peace deal from fucking Biden, who he claims it came from Israel. We know it didn't come from Israel because, a lot of the Israelis yesterday were protesting. They were mad. They were angry. They were out there throwing things, and they had this big fucking thing. Biden, save us. I'm sure it was written in English, too. In English. A big fucking, it was bigger than a blanket. It was like a massive white tarp with these, Biden, save us from evil Netanyahu, which I'm sure will be in the fucking Biden's campaign fucking in the next couple of weeks or tomorrow. Because it's probably his guys who paid somebody in fucking Israel to do it. English, of course, for the Israeli audience. The peace deal is a violation of international law. Or, should I say, it is a means by which it is a pass for Israel to violate international law if Hamas were to sign it. Now, everyone says, oh, Netanyahu's not going to sign it. Oh, my God, the far right aren't going to fucking agree to the deal. They agreed to the deal. So, of course, now everyone's going to turn to Hamas. Well, what you going to do? And if Hamas doesn't agree to the surrender peace deal, which is a violation of international law on multiple fronts, and it gives Israel a pass in the fucking language of the deal for what they've already done, which are violations of international law, beyond the genocide one, it gives them a pass for all those if Hamas signs the deal. When Hamas doesn't sign the deal, of course they can step back and say, see, we tried. We came to the fucking table. We had an offer. Now fucking Hamas clearly, is the obstacle to peace. So we have to keep bombing Hamas. That's why, according to reports, an aide to Prime Minister Netanyahu said in an interview on Britain's Sunday Times that Israel had agreed to the framework for President Joe Biden's plan to bring an end to the war in Gaza, though he said it was not a good deal. Oh, it's not a good deal. It's the best deal for fucking Israel. There's nothing in it for Hamas or the Palestinians, but it's a great deal for Israel. But they're going to play it off. Oh, it's not a good deal for us. Oh, we have to make sacrifices. Let me explain part of the deal. First of all, you're not going to find the deal online. I double dog dare you. Because I can't. Because it hasn't been released and or leaked. Israel has read the deal. Israel has agreed to the deal. Hamas spokesman responded this morning. Biden gave his fucking slurred fucking Adderall riddled fucking speech 2 days ago. This morning, Hamas spokesperson asked about the deal. He said, don't know. No one sent us a copy of it. He said, it sounds like a starter, possibly, but we haven't seen the deal. This is a stunt. And it's offensively stupid. And if anybody on the fake alt, left or right, say, Hamas should take this or they're an obstacle to peace, fuck you and the knees you walked in on, you miserable rat fuck piece of shit. How's that? That includes Cenk Uygur. That includes all the rest of the fake fucking alt left. If you say that Hamas rejects this and they're an obstacle to peace, fuck you and your miserable ass knees you walked in on, you rat face piece of shit. Okay? I'll explain to you why. Here's the part of the deal that Biden had to mention, but of course they won't release it. So we don't really know just how bad and insultingly bad it is, which is why they won't release it. They want Hamas to reject it before they release it. They don't want people to realize. But he's already said enough in Biden's statements that tells you this is a piece of shit deal. Okay? There's a 3-stage thing, and the occupying forces are only mentioned in the first fucking stage, which means whatever happens in the first stage applies to the next 2 stages. Okay? That's the first thing. Now listen, I haven't seen it, but this is all the summaries that we've seen based on what Biden has said. All we can do is go by what Biden has said. All I could find was the text of Biden's fucking slurred fucking Adderall goddamn speech, trying to save his ass before November. Trying to keep from going down in history as Genocide fucking Joe. Who, by the way, as I told you in my last video, sent a Salvador option expert in the form of General Glenn to Israel a week and 4 days after October the 7th, 2023. To teach them the Salvador option of killing and punishing the civilians till the civilians turn on the insurgency. That's what and creating the Nakba Pier is what fucking Genocide Joe has done. And given them more fucking weapons and made excuses and changed the fucking lane and changed the fucking goalpost and changed the fucking goalpost and erased the red lines incessantly for glorious Israel. Now, as I'm going to show you in a minute, there's links to all this down below. I'm not making this shit up. As I'm going to show you in a minute, one of the problems in the goddamn thing is there's a serious penalty if Hamas violates the ceasefire agreement, which of course all Israel has to do is get one of their Palestinians who's on the payroll to go into their area and launch a bottle rocket, and they'll have cameras set up and they'll go, "Oh my God, look!" and then the bombing will start again. Okay? If Hamas violates the ceasefire agreement, Israel has every right to bomb the shit out of fucking, according to the ceasefire deal. And all that means is they can launch a bottle rocket with one of their fucking assets anytime they want. If Israel violates the fucking ceasefire agreement, there's no mention. There's no mention. It's one-sided. Now, that's the first problem. And that's a doozy. The second problem is a war crime. You are not allowed, if you are an occupying power, to by force, by threat, by coercion, by bombing, by firebombing nylon tents, to force the occupied people out of an area and then claim it as your own because it is now unpopulated. This is a blatant, vile war crime. It's, again, links. Article 53 of the Fourth Geneva Convention. You can't steal any property, either personal property or belonging to the collectivity of the private persons or the state. You can't take the property as an occupying power. Article 49 talks about deportation, transfers, and evacuations. So these are violations of 2 articles: humanitarian law and Geneva Convention. Article 49 states individual or massed forced transfers as well as deportations of protected persons from occupied territory to the territory of the occupying power or any other country, occupied or not, are prohibited. Okay? You can't force people out, put them on the Nakba fucking pier, send them off to go be cheap labor someplace, which is what they're planning on doing. There's no question. Oh, but they're leaving of their own accord. because they're not allowing aid in. There's no food, there's no water, there's no schools, there's no hospitals, there's no life. They've bombed everything to shit. And they continue to bomb fucking refugee centers. Oh well, but they're leaving of their own accord. No, they're not. These are violations of international law. Now, here's the deal. Here's the stickler. Here's how this bullshit fucking peace accord, which they won't let you read, by the way. Here's how it is so criminally offensive. You have to be either corrupt or fucking brain dead to go online and say Hamas should accept this deal. That's why you can't see it. Because even the fucking brain dead can read it and go, that's not a good deal for Hamas. I told you this the other day. I told you this yesterday in a little note on the fucking thing. The first time I saw it. The first thing I heard out of Biden's fucking slurred Adderall goddamn mouth, I said, holy shit. They claim, sign this deal, and Israel will leave, the IDF will leave populated areas. Populated areas. Populated areas. Populated areas. They have bombed the shit out of the country to the point, and then dropped flyers, and then dropped firebombs, and said, you got to get the fuck out. Go south. Go south. This area is not populated. Hey, the IDF gets it. This area is not populated. Hey, the IDF gets it. They get to keep it all. Oh shit, here they are, depopulating an area. This area is not populated. The Zionists get it. This is vile. This language is vile. And of course, because there's no other mention of the IDF and their remaining in phase 2 and phase 3, that means they get to keep it forever. And then they get to reoccupy Netzarim settlement because it's depopulated. And they get to put all their fucking IDF soldiers and all their fucking IDF battlements just right across this thing and eventually depopulate this whole fucking northern chunk, top third of Gaza. Oh, as soon as they depopulate it, Israel gets it. So of course Israel fucking accepted it. Netzarim Beach. Oh my God, they're going to bring in the resort casinos and the mob and big business and Donald Trump's fucking son-in-law. They're going to build up a bunch of hotels. It'll be lovely. It'll be great. And they'll have a nice highway protected by the IDF for the super rich to enjoy their time in glorious Israel, formerly known as Gaza, because it's depopulated. This is not a fucking peace deal. This is surrender. Surrender. That's just areas. They've got other areas. They've depopulated the far south fucking on the Philadelphia corridor. They've depopulated much of that by bombing and by forced relocation and dispossession. All illegal. Now, if Hamas signs on the dotted line with this, it will retroactively give the IDF the right to do this and to keep this. They're signing away their rights and protections under international law. Which is why the Hamas guys said, Nobody sent it to us. They have this claim in the second, or I think it's a third fucking phase, supposedly. Mondo Weiss has a good breakdown on this. You could go read Mondo Weiss's. But in that, they claim, and Al Jazeera, there's links to both of those down below. In that, they claim that eventually any and all Palestinians will be free to return to their homes, no matter where it is. Really? Are they going to be able to return to their homes in areas where that were depopulated, and now the IDF has a settlement? They want to bring back settlements into fucking Gaza. They want to remove the troublesome, pesky resistance government that is Hamas, so that they can do to Gaza what they did to the West Bank, and still claim to be, the most moral army in the world, with their bantustans and their fucking ghettos. That's what they have in the West Bank. They have ghettos. They built a ghetto system where the glorious Israelis are basically like the SS back in the day, that herded and relocated Jews and leftists and union leaders and socialists and people like that, and gay people and black people, into these ghettos, where they had them all basically locked down like bantustans in South Africa. By the way, Israel was a big fucking proponent of South Africa, apartheid South Africa back in the day. These are bantustans, but they are more like nowadays ghettos. More like ghettos, where they offer them work for next to nothing, and they have to go through all these checkpoints, and they have to wait in line just to... This is in Palestine. This is on their fucking land. And they want the same thing in Gaza. They want the same thing in Gaza. They want to keep as many as they can, Palestinians, for cheap labor, for their business opportunities. Biden is just... this is offensive. And what's more offensive is people who say they are on the side of fucking Palestinians in Gaza and ceasefire. They're like, okay, great, Netanyahu signed it. He's going to sign it. That's awesome. Netanyahu was standing up in the face of the far right saying, hey, we need peace. And the far right's playing along. They're going, oh, well, it's not perfect, but I guess we'll have to take it. Looking around, winking at each other, nudge, nudge. This is surrender for fucking Hamas. And it's giving Israel the groundwork to build the exact same ghetto system in Gaza that they have working for them in the West Bank. This is a fact. You're not going to be able to go back and just move into... They're going to reestablish fucking settlements. The settlers are all excited and ready to go. There are people living in fucking New Jersey right now. Losers. Losers. In Jersey right now. In some shithole fucking living situation. Paying weekly. And they're doing their fucking research and trying to figure out how to fucking convert to Judaism so they can go be a settler in fucking Gaza. Or Palestine. Or West Bank. They're ready to go. They're losers in fucking Israel. Who are trying to grow their hair out so they can get the little things going and say, okay, I'm a Jew. I love Jew stuff. They are psychotic, desperate fucking losers. And they want to put them back in fucking Gaza. And that's what this peace accord does. But again, that's why the Biden administration has not sent a copy to Hamas. And that is why you will not find it here or online. I couldn't. If you can, let me know. Post a comment. More power to you. I couldn't find it. As of 9:15 on a Sunday. I'll tell you what's going to end up happening. This is the. I'm going to tell you real quick, and some of you might find this offensive. Don't give a fuck. But I'm going to say it. The model that they want to utilize, big business, big finance, subservient fucking government, bent over backwards with the pants down government, bent over forward with the pants down government. This is what they want. This is the model they want. I'm going to do this shit to fucking Gaza because they're weak. They're weak. They're incapable of defending themselves, not just physically, but they're doing a good enough job against glorious Israel, but it's glorious Israel. If we hadn't been giving them all the bombs, if we hadn't been giving them all the bombs, if we didn't stand with them, Israel would have to be a better neighbor. Otherwise, they'd be overrun. From the north, from the fucking east, and certainly from within. They'd be overrun. So they'd have to be a better neighbor. But they haven't got to, because we're there. And we stand with glorious Israel, no matter how many fucking children they bomb to steal somebody else's land. Now, here's the model they want. They want this to go through, something like this to go through, and then to make life so fucking miserable. I'm sorry about the focus. I don't know why the goddamn thing changes so much. What the fuck? They want life to be so miserable that people leave on their own accord. It's not a violation. They want people to leave on their own accord, to make their way to the fucking Nakba highway and to catch a ride on a fucking Zionist bus all the way to the fucking Nakba pier, where they will be put on fucking transport ships. I'm not fucking kidding. And moved like fucking cargo, like Africans leaving fucking Africa back in the day, and taken to various countries where big business says, we need cheap labor. We need migrants. And then they will be taken and left off the fucking transport ships, like Africans back in the day. And they will be put on fucking cattle cars. And they will be transported via cattle cars to the refugee camps, which will have 14-foot fucking barbed wire fences all around and fucking towers watching them and all kinds of AI stuff watching them. And they will be registered and they will be fucking figured out what they can do positively for whatever business and factory or industry is located right next to the refugee camp. Does any of this sound fucking familiar to you? And then, of course, because they don't want to waste any fucking money, they'll have to figure out a way to deal with the ones who are sick, old, too fucking young to actually fucking work in the industry. They'll have to find a way to deal with them. Maybe they'll make them take a shower to get rid of the lice. They still make Zyklon B? You think I'm fucking going over the edge here? I'm going, bullshit. They will make up free trade zones and they will send these fucking refugees to camps inside those free trade zones, where they will work. In free trade zones, there are no fucking laws governing how much you have to pay, how much, any kind of worker protections. That's why they're free trade zones. They're trying to build free trade zones. They already have one in Florida. They're trying to build more, all on the fucking Gulf Coast. That's what they did. That's what the Clintons did in Haiti. They destroyed the... I'm not talking about in the 90s. I'm talking about after the thing with Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State and took all the money the whole world donated to help the people of Haiti after the earthquake and the typhoon, or the earthquake and the hurricane. The world came together. And Hillary Clinton reached her fucking claws out there and she snatched that fucking money. And she put it in a fund. And who'd she put in charge of the fund to take care of the money? George W. Bush and Bill Clinton. And then, about 9 months later, she threw a $20 million fucking wedding for her daughter. Where do you think that money came from? But what they did in Haiti was they stole land from a bunch of people who, their agriculture based, because, you know, Agricon needs the fucking money, United States needs that money instead. They kicked them off their land and they built a free trade zone. They used the fucking money to help the people of Haiti to build a free trade zone, which they gave to a buddy of theirs from South Korea. If you don't believe me, look it the fuck up. Then she spent her time, they wanted to pass a measly fucking 30 cents per hour increase for the minimum wage in fucking Haiti. And she tore her fucking hair out and beat her breast and screamed about being commies and shit until they got that increase from 33 cents an hour. They wanted to go to 60-something cents an hour, from 33 cents an hour to 34 cents an hour. Because it would have cost the South Korean some of his profits. And he was getting his entire fucking industry for free. How much do you think Hillary Clinton got in kickbacks for that? I'll tell you one thing she got in kickbacks for that. A $20 million fucking wedding for her despicable fucking daughter. That's a fact. Did you know there's a picture of Ghislaine Maxwell at that party, at that wedding? Did you know that? It's true. So, anybody tells you this is a good deal for Hamas and Hamas should take it, that if Hamas rejects it, then Hamas really are an obstacle to peace. We got to get rid of Hamas. That's exactly what this is designed for. That's why they didn't give a copy to Hamas. That's why they didn't give a copy to the New York Times or anybody else. Okay? And you say, oh, well, Netanyahu's, you know, he's given in to the pressure from the people. When I saw the people in Israel hopping up and down saying, you got to take this deal. Fuck you. Fuck you, activists in fucking Israel. Fuck you. I know you want your hostages back. There's 100 of them. There's 1.9 million people still in fucking Gaza. 1.9 million people. And this will turn their fucking homeland into a goddamn ghetto. And all you people out there hopping up and down saying, you got to take this deal and Hamas has got to take this deal. Fuck you. You're Jewish. And you know what a goddamn ghetto is. Thank you for your time.